Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Bullivant, Senior Editor at the Institute for Family Studies. Last week, Atlantic staff writer Olga Khazan wrote a very interesting piece called The Most Useless Piece of Parenting Advice: The Problem with Telling Mums It Takes a Village. Now, we love Olga and what she does at the Atlantic, but we were really excited to receive an article from Nadya Williams, who just wanted a challenge, sent just one omission from Olga's piece. So Nadia, you've been writing on family studies now for a couple of years. It's always great to get your pieces. And this one has gone relatively viral this week. It's been the biggest thing read on our website. So excited to get to meet you, the author herself. Um, I was wondering first, just to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm a homeschool mom and an academic of sorts. I was in academia for 15 years, and my husband and I were homeschooling all along. Then I left academia, started writing and editing, and I actually wrote a book on motherhood and why we should really value mothers. And most recently, I'm back to sort of academia. I'm interim director of the MFA in creative writing at Ashland University.
Oh, wow, very cool, exciting. Into your piece then this week, you talked a little bit about the decline of the village. What is the village? What are we talking about here?
And I think that's the big question because that's where Olga's piece is talking about just like where she's frustrated is the whole idea that her village, she feels, is not nearby. So, friends, family, relatives, if you don't live close to people, like who are you going to rely on? And throughout her article, she talks about people who have no one to call in times of an emergency. And my response was, well, my church is my village. We too live far away from family, although we did make friends here in town. Also, we moved here 2.5 years ago, had to start over from scratch in creating our own village.
Mm.
But our church has really been our village. If there's an emergency of any sort, day or night, I know I can call people and I know that they can call me. And that's what a village really is that test question. If you are like, if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, do you have someone you can call?
Yeah, I imagine quite a few people say no to that.
Exactly.
And so how do you go about building a village like that then, Nadia? So you've landed from a different state and you're there, you know
Mm.
no one, um, uh, and you just turned up to church and say, "Hello, help me." How does it function?
It doesn't go that way. And I think that's the tricky part. If you show up somewhere and you're in the middle of an emergency and you say, hello, help me, that's just not going to fly because this is not how relationships work. Because the point of the village is not just emergencies. We're really like the people we go to church with. We're friends with them. We have lunch regularly. We have coffee together every week. We spend hours together every week just having fun together. And so much of that is what a village is. And whenever we think of like the traditional, I don't know, go back centuries, like the idea of a village, people you know around you, these are people you're close to. And so if an emergency happens, well, when an emergency happens, because everybody has emergencies,
Mm.
that's the people you call because you see them multiple times a week already. So it's not going to be this weird, like, hi, we've never met. I have an emergency. Help me. It's more of a, we talked yesterday, by the way, I'm so sorry, but here's this thing that just happened. Can you help me? And it's a completely different conversation then.
Yeah, this is reminding me of that Hillary Clinton campaign video where she's like picking up the hotline at 3 a.m. Saying that she had the stamina to be the presidential candidate, because she would be the one answering the call. And then on Hillary Clinton, she wrote that book, It Takes a Village, I think, to raise a child. Um, what is the purpose of this village? Is it there for the child? Is it there for the parent? How does it work?
I don't think you can really separate the parent from the child. When we think of families, we should be thinking of units that function together. And so whenever we're talking about a village that it takes to raise a child, it should be much closer bonds than perhaps Hillary Clinton was thinking about. So the idea of a village for a lot of people, I think today, is you pay for your village. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Mm.
talking about the kind of relationships that money can't buy. They're, to use the cliche, priceless. But they really are. And that's where, for example, at church, the intergenerational aspect of it works out. My kids don't have grandparents here in town, but they have grandparents at church, people who really do treat them like as if they were their actual grandchildren.
Oh yeah, that is really good because I'm trying to think for people who don't necessarily go to a church or other house of worship, like where you would find that sort of opportunity to meet with people from different backgrounds,
Mhm.
different educational backgrounds, different sort of class backgrounds, even, and as you're saying, intergenerationally, because I'm not sure where do other people go to form their village? I mean, some of it you're saying you pay for childcare, perhaps, or preschool. Um, have you been able to explore, and perhaps Olga had too, where else you can build your village?
That's a really good question because I think it would be harder. In church, what makes it easier is that it's right there. There's a community. So if you're a dedicated member there, you get to know these people and there is a sense of investment. Like we're in it together, we have shared values and so on. People can certainly build such a village without a church, but I think it would be harder and would take just more time pouring into it and thinking like, what do we value together? I do think a great example of it is what Steph Murray has done with her baby swap. Where she and several other families created a village together where they exchange kids every now and multiple
Mm.
times like a week just to allow the other parents to get a break. So that's a different way of building a village. But that one, you may note, is all one generation because it's like the parents who are overworked and this is their chance to like pull kids together. Kids can play and some parents get a break. And that works really well. It's just a different version. But I think what it is also it takes imagination. And perhaps that was my biggest concern with Olga's piece is that there was
Mm.
no imagination. Like, yes, if you don't have family and friends right there, where do you go? And I think the answer for a lot of us is think outside the box. Like, if you don't have a village, you can build one. It will take work. Of course it will. Like all the beautiful things in life take work. I'm sorry. They do.
Yeah, so moving on to that then, what do you think are some of the, well, I think actually, no, I would love to pick up on that thing about the Steph Murray village because I, there is that seems like a really helpful kind of like affordable babysitting type service and a sort of an emergency gap, an emergency service for just getting a breather. But it's not necessarily a village because some of it is because I think it's about supporting the parent too, isn't it, in terms of the village? And so I think I've noticed that with the intergenerational bit in church, it's just really helpful to be able to see people at different stages of life. Those who are sort of older, surrounded by grandparents, and they've made it, they've got there. Those who have teenagers versus having, say, toddlers, and just being able to be surrounded by that kind of like normality, or there's different norms and sort of and trajectories is sometimes like really helpful, which I think, yeah, to your point, is like you wouldn't be getting just in the sort of like, one generation type village.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that is missing, I think, if you don't have that, perhaps. But it's also the question of what can you make happen in your life at that moment.
Yeah, and so on the building the community over, because it sounds like you've been pretty successful at doing it in such a short period of time. What have you found to be some of the most successful habits or mindsets or just attitudes going into it? Even from like first day at church, so you walk in and you're brand new and you're surrounded by some kids. What did you, what's helpful? What would your helpful tips be for others?
Have people over to your house. Like hospitality has been key for us is in getting to know people, because like it's the 21st century. Of course, everybody's busy, everybody's overworked, and everybody's wondering like, what am I making for lunch or dinner today? So
Mm.
it's a lot of so it's just fun to have people over for lunch. Say like after church, we usually try to have somebody over to our house for lunch after church because then you have a relaxed conversation. It's in my house. it also makes people feel at ease because they see that my living room looks like a bomb exploded, and
Right.
they're like, okay, her housekeeping habits are awful. I can feel comfortable because my house looks better, and so things like that. It really disarms people when they come over. So like things like that go a long way. And then if you invite people over to your house, guess what happens next? They have
Have
you
you?
over.
Well,
Yeah.
then you have done well to get a reciprocal invite.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Like, and you have friendships and you realize, like, okay, we all like each other. Sure, we are from a completely different background. And that's the other thing. Yes, it's intergenerational, but also completely different backgrounds. Like, my husband and I are career nerds. And here are people who have lived in this same town for generations. And it's just wonderful. And we realize we have so much more in common than we would have ever imagined.
Yeah, we've done a fair bit of research here too around how actually families that go to church apparently experience much greater stability too in their
Mhm.
marriage and much greater levels of happiness.
Mhm.
Do you think some of it will be related to this village type support?
I think so. Yes, because we don't feel isolated, we don't feel lonely. Like so often people who live far from family or
Mm.
like, college friends will say like I feel lonely, I don't have anybody around. And I've never said that since like living here because we're not lonely. I mean, this afternoon we have a standing Friday afternoon play date with a bunch of other families, and that's actually my husband's coworkers. So that's the other sort of like second village right there as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that sort of like multiple sources of village is really good. Do you have any thoughts or advice to anyone that have been to church, they've been burnt by it, they've had negative experiences of it? What might you say to them as they're thinking about raising their children in a need for a village?
Find a church that is a healthy church. Commit and put in the work because a lot of times when you come into any new um, new to you organization, there are people who already have friends. They've been there for decades. Make friends, like invite them to lunch, invite them to coffee, and take that first step, and then you'll realize like they'll grow to like you too.
That's fantastic, Nadia. Well, thank you so much. It's been
Thank you,
great to
Chris.
have you writing with us, and thank you for submitting such a thoughtful piece. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you so much.